Annyeonghaseyo. My name is Kyle, and I am part of KoreanAdopteeStories. And I am really excited because I'm here talking with Derek Fisher and Jodi Gill on camera right now. And I wanted to discuss more about their foundation, Gide. And I was wondering, could one of you explain what Gide is and what are you trying to accomplish with it?
Hi, well, my name is Jodi. Thanks for having us tonight. I want to explain that Gide Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and the mission of our foundation is Korean adoptee education and the mental health journey. Our ultimate goal is to reduce the suicide rates that exist amongst this community, and we're going to start with embracing the Korean Adoptee Group first because our team members are Korean adoptees. However, we hope that we can build a model to embrace all international adoptees and transracial adoptees with this education.
Okay. So, how did you guys end up working together?
Well, that's kind of a cool story. Hi, everyone. My name is Derek Fisher. I'm the other co-founder of the Gide Foundation. And the first project really came about because we have a unique opportunity during this global pandemic where everything got kind of put on pause. And during that time, I approached Jodi and said, hey, I have an idea and I want to work with you because of your connections with the with her work. She worked at a university in Oregon, and there's a project that I thought we could really kind of incorporate some of the students to do some of the work and really lessen the load and make this project really kind of launch. And that project was a handbook for birth family reunions. And so, while everything's on hold and people weren't going back to Korea, what I thought would be very interesting would be to use the lessons and experiences of adoptees that had gone back to Korea previously to meet birth family members and create this guidebook that future Korean adoptees could use to make sure that their reunions are as successful as possible. And so, early spring, late winter, having that conversation with Jodi, it was kind of fortuitous because while we couldn't necessarily use the students because they got sent home, what it did allow was Jodi to have some time that she normally would be, traveling all over the world, trying to recruit international students, and she could kind of devote it to this project. And so, really, the origins of the Gide Foundation is this first inaugural project that we're working on, and the beginning of that was a fortuitous conversation in the midst of the world craziness that we're still living in. So I guess one positive aspect, and there's been a lot of tragedy over the past few weeks and months, but something that I think potentially wonderful occurred are the beginning steps towards working towards creating a much more cohesive and unified community for the Korean American adoptee world, which we call KADS. So when we talk about KADS going forward, that's what we mean, Korean American adoptees.
Okay, great. So you have actually a personal story with why you created this Gide Foundation and also a guidebook. Could you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's something that it's very frustrating to me because I think in my life I've consistently received things I never wanted, but other people covet. And, thousands of KADS desperately want to reconnect with their biological family. And that's something that I had no interest in whatsoever. And so, as luck would have it, since I have no interest in it, it's going to fall in my lap. And that's exactly what happened. 2 years ago, out of the blue, I got a letter from Eastern Social Welfare Services, and it basically stated that my biological father wanted to see me before he took his last breath, which is kind of dramatic to get in a letter. And so I responded, kind of in a dramatic way. I was kind of shaken, and in discussions with my wife, I didn't really want to go because I was I was older when I was adopted, so I have very unfond memories of my biological father, and I just didn't have an interest in reconnecting. But the simple, decent thing to do is to assist someone as they transition from life to death, and I felt that I owed just any human being that compassion. I also stated, I was trying to get out of it a little bit, so my weasel answer was, well, I'd love to do it, but it's in the middle of the Olympics, and the flights will be too expensive. And it turned out that there was a very reasonable flight, quite affordable, but it required me to leave at 6 a.m. the next morning. So, essentially about 12 hours after I received this letter, I was going back to Korea for the first time in 38 years to meet a biological family member with no preparation whatsoever. So, I had never wanted to do this. I never studied Korean heritage and culture. Honestly, before that letter, if you had, told me that I was Korean, I would have been angry at you and said, I'm, English and German. So, now I'm on this plane, and obviously, most people, when they go through this, they have a little bit more notice than 12 hours. So they do get to plan a little bit. And because I didn't, and this is a source of amusement for Jodi because she's been back to Korea so many times. But, when I give her details about what I did for that first time I went back 2 years ago, it's just, I made every mistake possible. I might have set the Guinness Book of World Records for the most inept trip. And, it definitely showed in the quality of the trip, in the my reactions and expectations of that first reunion with Hanmu, who I call my biological father. And so from that, what I don't want is for anyone else. Guys, look, here's the reality. It's an expensive journey. It's a huge amount of time. It's a huge amount of money. So why run the risk of having it be horrible? And if what we can do is take the lessons learned from the people that have already gone on this path, including people that made mistakes like myself. And don't get me wrong, there are other people that have had an amazing outcome. There are people that have gone back to meet their birth family and now live in Korea with their biological family members. And so what we want to do in this handbook is to, give some advice and, manage expectations so that people can know what could happen from both ends of the spectrum. So from the horrible, trip like mine to the amazing trip like others who now live there and everything in between, what we can do is we can give the greatest chance of a positive experience for the cat that goes back to meet biological family members.
Okay, great. So Jodi, you seem to be pretty well versed in the Korean culture and community. Have you had a chance of reuniting with your family as well? Did you have generally good experience or bad experience with Korea?
That's a good question. I first visited Korea in 2015, and I initially asked for Holt to help me find my birth family. My expectation is they would not be able to find anything. But during that trip in Korea, I did go to the office and they sat me down, looked at my files, and it was as I thought. The birth parent has to come up to either, communicate with the organization or do a DNA test, and they had nothing. What I did accomplish, though, is I was able to go visit the Holt Ilsan campus, and that is a campus that has about 200 residents that are, that have no family. And it was like a kind of a firsthand, this could have been me moment, but I also was able to meet the leaders there, Molly Holt and Dr. Cho, and those leaders were there when I had come to the orphanage at that time back in the 70s. So that to me was a bit, what I would say, refreshing to have something from the time that I was a baby to that first visit that I went to Korea.
Yeah, so I guess my name is Travis. I'm identical twin brother with Kyle. First and foremost, I understand Kyle and I have a very fond idea or a strong idea on what the group is about. But what about for people that are CADs that are unfamiliar with this project?
And who are you guys looking for? I guess we could be an example. The reason why we're talking to Jodi and Derek and their guide and the guidebook is we were asked to work on a cover for them, and I know we offer some sort of the artistic and creative and design sense. What other people are you looking for, and what roles are you guys looking for?
That's a really good question, and kind of let's clear the air on something right now, and that is that when Jodi and I had envisioned the cover and what we wanted the artwork to look like, we had two names in mind, and two names only, and they were Kyle and Travis Baylitz. So, and the reason why we only had one entity in mind was because we saw the artistic ability, but candidly, talent and 25 cents will buy you a cup of coffee. And so there had to be something beyond that artistic ability that made us so eager and desirable to use your work and have it be representative of what our project is. And it's kind of a huge honor because this is the book that, people will see throughout the world. This is a book that will live in posterity, and the work that the both of you did has been incredible. We can't share it yet. I mean, we have almost the final version, so you guys are going to have to take our word for it, but they absolutely outdid themselves. But the question that they're asking is kind of like, why them, and who are we looking for? And ultimately, the reason why them is because what we want to do is we want to celebrate the unique elements that make people within the CAD community special. We are a resilient group. We have overcome obstacles. We have achieved things that the average American just can never even fathom. And honestly, the average Korean can't fathom, and the average Korean American can't fathom. We have a unique identity. We have a unique culture, and Kyle and Travis really just capture that spirit of perseverance combined with compassion. They do a show to do what? To help spread a message and bring awareness. That means they have to think beyond themselves. And so, what we have is, artistic ability, we have compassion, and they're kind of special. And so the people that we're looking for, the guys, they are similar to you, maybe not as crazy, maybe not as, wacky and off the wall, because I don't think anyone really could be. You definitely set the standard for that, right? But you're more than crazy and kooky. You're kind, and you're compassionate, and you're thoughtful, and all those intangible attributes, they definitely are expressed in the work that you've done on the cover and the back. You've forgotten the back as well. So, there's two in the twins. So one did the cover and one did the back, and I think Jodi and I argue all the time between ourselves which one's better, the cover or the back. So we're just so proud and pleased of what you've produced for us. And I'm going to let Jodi kind of talk a little bit about some more attributes that we're looking for as far as volunteers.
Like what things need to get done. I guess if you can talk a little bit about that.
So as Derek said, the book is a starting point,
Mm-hmm.
and for me personally, I am very new to this community, only about 3 months new. What I found to be very fun in some of the posts I was responding to, but the overall feeling was, gosh, some of these posts are very, very heavy. How do we respond to that? So while we focused on the book, because I am able to contribute to the practical travel and culture portion of the book, there was this I would say, underlying feeling that we all had, like, what can we do? Because these posts out there showcase pain, in my opinion. So it really did connect with me. How can we help? Because in my, my professional world, I'm helping the international community. Now, what can I do for the cats? What can we do for the cats?
So both of you actually, in your opinion, there's actually a lot of pain and suffering amongst the Korean adoptee community. I know Derek was showing that they have a very high rate of suicide, and that's what you guys are trying to involve and bring everyone with differences together.
Yeah, from my perspective, because like I said, I'm very new to the community, and I was looking for, hey, brother, sisterly, more of a friendly
Yeah.
connection. And I did find that there's definitely people out there who are more lighthearted and post pictures of their food. But then every now and then you get these posts of, they talk about like they don't want to live anymore or something like that. And it really did shake me up like, wow, this is a lot more serious than I expected. And when we kind of put the feelers out there, and I'm always asking Derek, because he's been in the community for a while, he seems to be very, very dialed in. When we put that word out there, it felt like all of these other volunteers said, yeah, let's help. Let's do something. So just this organic group of people came together, and that's when we said, what do? We need to create a nonprofit foundation and be an educational resource. It was just easy. Like it was an easy response to what was out there.
And it seems like with your guys' background, you're actually pretty familiar with nonprofit organizations and how they work.
Yeah, I created a nonprofit before. My wife works in the nonprofit world, and so it's a natural avenue. Just think about it for a second. If Jodi and I created a for-profit business that attempted to monetize on the pain and suffering of our brothers and sisters in the community, I don't think we would be very good people, right? And one of the things that you guys have done is you've had honest conversations about mental health disorders that do have a greater impact with the CAD community. That's the reality, is that adoption is a traumatic event. And people manage trauma in different ways, but there is no shame in the Korean adoptee who struggles with the correlation and results of potential drug and alcohol addiction or mental health disorders or suicidal thoughts or being in a toxic or abusive relationship, because trauma is difficult. And international transracial adoption is one of the most traumatic events anyone can go through. And think about it. Most of us went through it at a pretty early age. And, I came here a little bit older. And so my path was potentially a little bit easier and even more challenging than those of you that came as infants. So the structure of it has to be a nonprofit, because what our mission is to do is to help. It's not to get rich. It is to unite. It's not to go public. It is to heal. It is not to create a global brand. So, we have to have an honest discussion that normalizes pain, that makes sure that adoptees don't feel that they are abnormal, that there's something wrong with them, right? We have to just candidly discuss what we've gone through so that everyone can know they're not alone. And that, Kyle and Travis, what you guys have gone through, I think you'd be surprised as you talk to more and more adoptees that they all kind of raise their hand and go, yeah, me too. I struggle with depression. By the way, hands up, I struggle with depression. I struggle with bipolar disorder. I struggle with post-traumatic stress disorder. So, all those things that, debilitate somebody. It didn't stop, myself from, working with Jodi and being proactive to take positive steps to help us manage better.
Some of the volunteers I know that have already started, and we're creating a pretty big momentum here, but you actually do have like a therapist and a psychologist that kind of has that kind of background that could actually maybe aid in some type of healing work possibility.
Oh, no, we've done one better than that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Jodi, why don't you tell them about
could you describe a bit about it?
Yeah. Why don't you tell them about the mental health task force and the mental health team?
Well, we have a team member, Moses Farrow, who is in charge of this, and he is a licensed, Derek, help me out with the letters.
Marriage, family, as LFMT, licensed family and marriage
Therapist.
But the important thing is that his focus is on the experience of an adoptee. So he's got a specialty in that area, and he will be driving that force. I think I don't want to say too much because I hate to put our projects out there, but there's some really cool things happening with the task force with that. I can speak on behalf of what I would like to see from the start point of the handbook, for the birth family reunions. I'd like to see it go into like the handbook for adoptee parents, the handbook for adopting young adults, a handbook for adoptees as parents, not just the adoptee parents, but like me as a parent who is an adoptee. I could see that series really growing. But as far as the mental health, Moses is working on some really cool projects in that. We are also working on, the what if possibility now that we've had this global pandemic, and Derek has been working with Susan Cox on the Zoom sessions, and people are gathering, people are connecting, and we're seeing some great momentum in that. What if we could do something in that area related to topics in the mental health area?
So one of the questions I have is that I see that you have involved some Korean adoptees who wrote in your book. Are you guys still looking for volunteers for that,
Or surveys too? How guys? I know you guys are asking other KADs to fill out surveys of how their reunion went in Korea.
Yeah, the reason why we want survey participants is two reasons, right? So the first one is to provide statistics that will allow, again, the CAD going back to Korea to kind of have a sense of preparation and an expectation of what this journey is going to involve. And, facts don't lie. And so, when we are discovering that, over 50% of CADs that went back to Korea to reunite with biological family members, when they come back, actually have a better relationship with their adoptive family, that's a really kind of cool statistic, and it's one that's a little bit surprising. So those are things that we can kind of share to help that, that adoptee tell their parents, hey, don't freak out, this could actually be really good for us. And they wouldn't have known that if they don't read this handbook, right? So there's a lot of valuable questions that's just statistically what we can do is provide answers that can just ensure that whatever that person is feeling on the way back, they know that there's people that felt the exact same way that they did. So they're not, again, abnormal in any way. Now, the other part of why we want so many CADs to collaborate is because if I wrote the book by myself on the emotional side and Jodi wrote the book on the logistical side, there would be an obvious bias towards this is a dangerous journey. And the reality is that it probably isn't. And so we want this handbook to be true. It has to be honest. And my truth is not necessarily fair or reflective to what the possibilities could be. And so every chapter is going to have advice and, little vignette stories of what happened to people, beforehand. So for example, we're going to have a chapter because, once you get that connection and you start making that decision and plan to go back to Korea, one of the first questions that comes to mind is, who's going? Am I going by myself? Am I going with my husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or partner? Am I going with them and my brothers and sisters and parents? What's the logistics? So, Kyle, Travis, you guys, went, you took the whole clan, right? Everybody went. And, and other people, they took their partner and I went by myself. So, I love my wife, but, I just felt I had to go by myself. And so we're going to provide stories from real people that, will say, I went with my husband and I'm so glad I did. And then someone else will say, I went with my husband and it was the worst decision I ever made. I went by myself. I'm so glad I did. Or I went by myself and I really could have needed some help. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow that person going back to Korea in the future to really understand what are the pros and cons of each decision. And because they're more knowledgeable, they're going to be able to make a better decision because of it.
Let me talk about the data, though, because you had asked about the volunteers. We are at 99 surveys, and our goal was 100, but we will be happy if we can get 125, 130. So if anybody in the audience has visited their birth parents in Korea or birth relatives in Korea, we would love for them to participate in the survey.
Okay, great.
All right. So one of the questions I have is that there are people, since it is a nonprofit, how do you guys, since it is a nonprofit, how do you guys think you will be able to get funding to support yourselves in the group? Is there something that, like, hey, I'm a CAD, but I'm not sure about this group. Is this money going to go to waste, or is it going to be going to something that's really useful? How can you guys inspire CADs to involve themselves more in this group and to participate financially?
I think it's a good question, right? Because there's a lot of great causes out there. And one of the things that we don't necessarily want to do is we don't want to engage in a nonprofit Hunger Games as far as why we deserve your support more than others, because that kind of goes against, one of our core values, which is collaboration. So, there are so many valuable and critical missions out there, whether it ranges from adoptee citizenship to, Korean heritage tours to go back to Korea, or what we're trying to do, which is, again, mental health advocacy, adoptee education, and eliminate cat suicide. So, that support that we are striving to get, we are not necessarily going to be solely dependent on the generosity of cats. We are structuring something where we're going to be a significant player in mental health, which means that we just added a significant component to our team, which is a grant writer. And we're going to be going after, the grants that address, this problem. And, we are also going to, Jodi just talked about the series that the Handbook can really kind of take a life of its own and really kind of support it and be a very positive revenue stream, but also serve as just such an incredible educational outlet, so that people that are unfamiliar with the challenges of either living with adoption or loving someone who is adopted can really find some answers and potentially repair some damaged bridges and provide stronger connections. So yes, we want funding from our brothers and sisters. No, we don't want it at the expense of other incredible organizations out there. I think that, even, there's organizations that are working on DNA testing for all cats. How could we? Of course we have to support that. There's organizations that are working on a birth family portal, where people can, kind of marshal all the resources available to try and increase the probability of getting that match. Again, wonderful mission. We want to support, absolutely. And, for those of you that are familiar with those projects, we have your back. We're rooting for you, and we're one of your biggest cheerleaders. So, but we also know that most of the Korean American adoptee community is not connected on social media. They are who I was 2 years ago, just completely in denial of who they are. And those are the people that when we have a compelling argument, a impassioned discussion as far as why it makes sense for them to come into our tent, they're not going to be rejected. They're fine just the way they are. They're a cat. We feel that there's enough support from new members that we can achieve a lot.
You want to stress that it's not just the financial stuff that you're looking for through other KDs. They can offer other skill sets or other things that they could volunteer.
The energy that we are looking for, we have a lot of things that we want to accomplish and achieve, So, Jodi's mentioned some projects. It's so hard for me because, the projects are they're so cool, and they're so groundbreaking, and they're so innovative, and they're so therapeutic. And what we know is that each and every project that we do is going to leave our community in better condition than we came into it. But we can't do it ourselves. We cannot do it alone. I'm too old to operate social media, and Jodi's just too cool to do so. So she has this way other cooler things to do than that. So that means we need team members in all disciplines, whether it's IT, whether it's marketing, whether it's fundraising, whether it's volunteer recruitment. We have some really solid team leads, but many hands make life work.
Yep.
And so we have room for any of you that wants to make a difference, that wants to have a blast doing so. and wants to know that everything that they're doing is towards making our community a better one.
I'd just like to add, we are nonprofit, so there's always going to be that ask. I think what makes us very different is we want to be an educational resource. So that would serve all the other, groups, because we all have that same journey. One of the areas that is not focused on are the parents who adopted us. When we start to explore our birth parents, it's like there's no guidebook for them of how to handle that. I know that it's a difficult conversation for a lot of adoptee children to have with their American parents. Some parents feel like, what if I get replaced, or did they not love me, or did I not love them enough? And those are really important questions. And the other part to that too is some parents, they just don't have the education of what is a detachment disorder. Why is this child always sad, or why is my son or daughter not thriving? They just want to push them in their own, culture. Maybe that's their culture, is to just go to the next achievement, whether it's high school diploma, college, and so on. But those fractures of a detachment disorder are something that they could be educated on. And we want to do that in such a way that's just full of compassion, to say, thank you, American adoptee parents who took us in. This is not at all to be a journey of our own to point the fingers of all the wrongdoing, but this is our journey, and we acknowledge that you also have a journey that is full of your own, grief and pain, and maybe, you didn't handle us because you just didn't know any better, and maybe you loved us and we didn't accept it. So there's that part, and I think having that audience on board is a very new concept to a lot of the different Korean adoptee groups.
Another big demographic, I think, with amongst Korean adoptees is actually Korean adoptees becoming parents themselves, such as yourself.
Yes.
So like you guys, I know I heard that you might be making resources for Korean adoptees kids as well.
Yeah, I have this vision because I've worked with, cute little Korean children. Even just last summer, I served like 250 Korean children, and I was like, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could put in their hands some kind of like children's book, with the little characters of Jie and Manchik together, and explaining like, what is this Korean adoptee and what is their experience in America? Because at first, they're learning English, but also they're learning about American education, American culture, and this different group. And I think that the parents, the systems over there will embrace it.
I'm going to say something a little controversial, which is that, Jodi's children, when people in the United States are going to ask, like, what are you, right? What they have traditionally said is, well, I'm a half Scottish and I'm half Korean. And I'd like to see that change a little bit to, the answer in the future to be, I'm half Scottish and I'm half CAD. And, our culture and what our experiences are as a CAD. We were just having a discussion about this in our leadership group a couple of days ago. And, the reality is that there's a large school of thought that trauma actually changes DNA. And that is from a Korean term called Han. And Han is the pain and discomfort that one feels, and that was passed on through thousands of years and many, many generations of suffering. And it's just built up to this really uncomfortable feeling. A similar feeling would be like if your wife made you watch 90 Day Fiancé for 4 hours in a row, where you just want to just scream. That's kind of similar to what Han is, right? But, in all seriousness, here's the problem, is that the children of cats, we want to be proactive. We want to be ahead of the game. We don't want to be, reactive. And what we can say is, look, if we know that trauma has changed cats, and, there's a strong possibility that trauma might also impact, the progeny of cats, then we need to start preparing for when those children get to a point where they might start exhibiting some signs that, we can really be in a position to identify quickly and provide treatment that is effective and very specific to the problems that that they might commonly have. So yeah, that's the future. It doesn't stop with just us, the adoptees. It goes well beyond that, right, to what Korean identity is and the potential health issues for, again, children of CADs.
I'll just give you a little example just as a mother, because I know there's several CAD mothers out there, mothers and fathers. Is for whatever reason, when I was young, I just didn't want to be hugged. And that's a weird thing to, especially American families, they want to hug their children. And as a mother, I hugged my children, but maybe not as much as they may have needed. So, and those are things that it's like, it's not necessarily a bad thing, a terrible parenting thing. It's just, as a Korean adoptee, we went through this experience, and maybe hugging is just not something that is on the forefront of what we need. So just that little sample. I've talked to other Korean moms, and they're like, yeah, we just wanted our kids to achieve because we felt that was the right way to parent. So there's a lot of that there, we might be able to give a great guidebook for.
So one of the questions I have is, I understand you guys are making a book. Are you going to be able to have everyone who wants to have access to it to actually be able to read it? Is there going to be a digital download, or how many copies that are printed, or other formats avenues that you might consider?
So that's a really good question, and we've had a lot of dialogue about it. And, so ultimately the plan is to offer the handbook in both a physical, actual book version, and also in an ebook format. And, our commitment is that, again, any adoptee that is going back to Korea will have this resource as a gift from us. And, how accessible will it be? We're, depending on our fundraising efforts, but it's looking pretty good that we're going to be able to produce, at least two to 500 actual physical copies. And it's looking like the central location for that will actually be in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, because there's so many cats there, and it's in the middle of the country. And then we'll provide, our partner nonprofit, that where someone that's, if they can demonstrate that, they're going to Korea, they have a plane ticket or whatever, that book is absolutely free for them. And then we'll have the ability to also have it in ebook format for people. So, there'll be many ways to access the guide.
Another important point, do we actually have an official release date for this guidebook?
Well, we got the guide back cover is almost done, and we're just waiting. And we have these artists that just, I think they'd just rather paint fences right now than just finish. We're a little bit frustrated with that because it's really kind of put us behind schedule, and we would have been ready to print it right now, but we're just waiting. And when they get in all kidding aside, we're targeting late August, early September for that release date. And Jodi, you have any other details as far as like the event launch? Because again, and Jodi's going to talk about this, but the world's been turned upside down, so we can't necessarily say we have a hard date if the pandemic gets worse or people aren't comfortable flying. Whatever that is. And so she's really been, I think, ahead of the curve on what some contingency plans will be for our launch event. So Jodi, fill them in.
Well, mid-September, because I'm on university schedule, and that's about the time that I can have available. Here's my vision, and it could change. My vision is I would love to do a book launch party with with a great group in Minnesota, and potentially either Portland or LA. And because we have this pandemic right now, my hope is to put together a smaller group than what we originally envisioned, but then maybe we would do that next step of Zooming with everybody who could support us. So that's what we're kind of toying with right now.
So another important question is, you guys talk about the donation, but is there a link or a direction that you guys can go to, a website that people can
I want to pay
donate?
you guys now. Take my money.
There's several ways. There's a fundraiser going on through Facebook.
Okay.
That we could definitely give you that link, but also right at www.gidefoundation.org, you can donate. You can take the survey. You can read more about us.
And you guys have a Facebook, 2 Facebook pages, from what I know. Could you explain more about those and where they can go for that? One for the book, and there's one for Gide, I believe.
Yes. So the Gide Foundation, what I would say, is the foundation that will produce all of the books.
Okay.
So the book is one project of many to come.
Okay.
So are you guys able to pretty much tell other people about maybe the current sponsors, or maybe you have some big groups that people might know that they might be part of, or is there any other
Details.
organization out there that you can give details to other CADs that are interested?
What other organizations, I guess, have you been working with so far?
Well, we had just talked about the survey to Adoptee Hub's function.
Okay.
Which was, they did a series, it was a multi-part series, and the one that we kind of showed up on was the actual reunion in Korea. And so there was a wonderful panel there, and I personally know some of them that actually went through it. So we got a chance to talk about those people that have experienced it, to share their insights. And Adoptee Hub was very gracious in inviting us to do so, and we want to help Adoptee Hub. So they're the ones that are going to be holding the books for us, and they're working on an incredibly cool project, which is that again, that birth family search portal. One of my CAD friends that I've known personally in the Dallas-Fort Worth area is the new president of 325 Camera, and she's replacing Catherine Kim, who's done just an incredible job, leading that organization for all these years. And I know everyone's excited for Linda's leadership and vision, and that board is really, I think, going to accomplish a lot of great things. And they're, just so you guys know, that's the organization responsible for sending out all the DNA kits to anyone that doesn't live in the United States. So, in addition, just had a wonderful conversation with Adoptees for Justice. And obviously we want to advocate and support, their mission, which is to ensure that the roughly 40,000 adoptees, many of whom are Korean adoptees, that don't currently have citizenship, get it. And, guys, this is the 13th year that we're trying to get this done. And, the reason why we just fall short each and every time and can't get at a subcommittee is because we don't have the political capital. And we don't have the political capital because what we need are organizations to say positive things about other organizations, be determined to work well together, to be good partners. And, the reality is this: right is right. And so
I also seen that you wrote a message to Korean Quarterly. That's really big among the CAD community and the Korean. Didn't you put a post there, or?
I did, yeah. I put a post on, a drawing that we, I thought that, so, we're really lucky because, yes, we have, incredible cover artists in you guys, but we don't have slouches for the illustrations inside the book either. And as a matter of fact, when you see their work, it's going to be, what's better, the cover or the inside? People, I think it'd be a dead heat.
And Jodi's daughter is actually participating in the illustrations as well.
Yeah. Yep. So, Jodi's daughter Taylor is illustrating the book, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's a blast because I get to go on Zoom, and she shares her screen, and we just kind of just roll with it, and she just starts drawing, and then it says, well, what if we change that? What if we tweak this? This is the color that we want on that. But 2 days ago we were working on, so we had because there's gonna be so many illustrations in the book, and we kind of have like a to-do list of emotions or scenes that we really kind of want to cover. And one of them was, GA in a handbook and her happiness. And so the reason why we submitted that one, that was the first post to Korean Quarterly. And because what we wanted to do is we wanted to say, look at this illustration, look how happy this little girl is. in a handbook, which is the expression of our native ethnicity. And really what we want to do in the guide is that pride and that happiness that little girl felt. Little GA is so happy. If our work and effort can allow a cat to go back to Korea, and let's say they try on a handbook for themselves or the traditional men's costume, and they have that smile on their face, and if it was partly because of what the advice we gave them, I mean, that's payment enough, in my opinion.
There are tons of Korean adoptee organizations. There's AK Connection in Minnesota. There's Cam Center in Minnesota. So based on my understanding, they are still working on trying to get sponsors. The reason why I want to mention this is because I know there is Sungchu Park. You might know him, but he actually has a grant in which he takes first Korean adoptees for the first trip to Korea, and hopefully to find the birth family and maybe go to orphanages and travel around Korea. The reason I mention that is because I think it's really important, because he's kind of a go-to guy when it comes to the Korean adoptee organization and meeting their birth family. So I'm hoping that when it comes to the end, that he'll be able to get a lot of sponsors in terms of what they really want for their intention in the book.
So I guess, are there any other last messages that you want to tell people about your organization and book before we head off tonight?
I think for me, I want to emphasize the word collaboration, because we're the new kid on the block, and people are wondering what are you all about? And we simply want to be the educational resource for all Korean adoptees, and maybe even beyond in the future. But we want to partner with the different organizations out there, and absolutely be careful and respectful of what you guys are already doing.
Yeah, it's not just in the nonprofit world, but kind of buzzword in the corporate world is siloing, right? And so everyone gets very possessive and jealous of their lane and their turf. And it's one where if what we're focusing on is I'm just going to be blunt. If we're more concerned about our own survival and viability versus the communities, then what we're ultimately going to get is similar, performance. And the reason why there are a lot of adoptees out there that, have tenuously put their foot into the community and then walked away to not come back is because we have to improve our collaborative efforts. We don't necessarily play well with each other. There's a lot of organizations that are doing the exact same mission, but have fractured, and there's some animosity. And one of the advantages of being, as Jodi said, the quote, new kid on the block, unquote, is that we don't necessarily have any agenda, but we know we're going to get attention, but what we want attention for is potentially a new way, a different way of conducting ourselves, and where we really kind of, again, promote that collaboration. A rising tide should lift all boats. And so if it doesn't, then we have to kind of consider who the harbor master is. And we want to be the best harbor master. We want, there's so many good causes out there, and they all deserve attention. They all deserve support. And, that's what we want to be. We want to be a unifier.
So one of the last questions I have is related to the fundraising. There might be people wondering, well, where does my money go to? How much should I donate? Because I'm thinking, like, how much does it cost to make a book?
The beautiful thing about nonprofits is that we're held accountable. And so, if you waste money, you're going to get in trouble pretty quickly. So, the expenses of how much does it cost to create a book? That's a really good question. It's a function of the printing partner that you select. It's a function of economies of scale. So your per unit cost at 2,000 copies is going to be far lower than if you make 10. Right? It depends if our artists insist on color for their cover, because that drives the cover up just dramatically. It depends on, do we want a hardcover or a soft cover? It depends on whether we want, worksheets attached to the ebook. So there's a lot of moving pieces. People have, put a lot of work into the book and deserve some, compensation for their time and effort. So there's that. There's marketing it. So sometimes when people look at, you look at a pack of cigarettes. A pack of cigarettes costs $7. Your actual cost per cigarette is less than a penny, and so you think, oh my God, that's outrageous. But when you look at, again, all the things that are involved in it, and the benefit of us is that we're not necessarily trying to attach a profit. So there is no padding of that. So look, if after the costs are calculated, and the book ends up being $19.99, then that's what we'll charge again. But for the Korean adoptee that's going back to Korea, what's that charge going to be? $0. Well, I mean, guys, someone has to pay for that book, right? So we're going to give that to them as a resource, but it still costs us money, because no matter who our publishing partner is, they're not going to be like, oh, you guys are really cool and great, so we're just going to do it for free as well. It doesn't work that way. So that's what we're going for. So that what you saw on that fundraising target was for the month of May. So, and again, we want to be open, and we want to be fully transparent. So we go, hey, in May, we want to raise $1,000, and Jodi's eagerly waiting till Tuesday, so that she can share what that fundraising result was for May. And so, overall, budget wise, Jodi, why don't you chime in here with the numbers, because she's more the financial guru than I am.
Well, I can say that the May goal has been reached, but we're waiting to give the final numbers for that. We're very excited about that. However, we have to consider June and July. And to answer very simply, the money will go to labor, promotions, and publications. Anything that is excessive over the goal for this project will roll right into the next project.
I guess it's worth mentioning. They were originally going to pay us $500, like together, so it's $250 a piece. But we decided to actually put that money back into the foundation. So you can thank Kyle and I for that. Thank you.
And we can also thank you for that. So both Jodi and I were very touched. We were very flattered. You know what? No, here's the thing though, and not to throw you guys under the bus, but I'm going to share a little bit of how you guys reacted when I said that that's representative of your integrity and the content of your character. And you guys kind of got all squirmy, like, oh, shucks. But, I've approached other people about, being artists or illustrators. And, they came back with prices that were much higher than yours. And they weren't going to give
I wanted to let everyone know we actually didn't offer a price at all, because I feel like what they're doing in general is a necessity for Korean adoptees. So
yes, but we also have to respect the fact that you guys are artists.
Yep.
And one of the things that artists, I think, sometimes get taken advantage of, right? Because there's almost an expectation that like the trade is an exposure, right? So you'll do it for free, but then we'll say cover designed by the Bayless brothers and back, and that's a fair trade. And no, it's not. The more people that buy the book, the more free copies we can give to those that deserve it.
What I'm hoping is, first of all, I love your laugh. Every time you laugh, like one of you climbs up in your seat, and it's just hilarious. It just brings me joy. But moving forward, like I hope that your generosity, the spirit of you giving back to the foundation, will just be contagious to all of your viewers, because that's what it takes. I mean, I joke with Derek and even Moses, because they put in so much time. I'm like, gosh, I think you guys need another zero on your paycheck, but we're all volunteering. So, no one's getting rich by this. So.
The question I had, I saw the website when I was kind of just browsing. You guys were hosting events. Do you plan to do more events?
Yeah, like Zoom Derek,
events.
I think you do Zoom calls. I don't know.
It was
kind
of discriminatory. You only allow 40-year-olds and up.
Well, okay, so sometimes when you have different projects or brands, and then you cross promote, what ends up happening is a little bit of confusion, and that's something that Jodi and I had a conversation about. The Pajama Conference is an independent project that I and Susan Cox. So it's actually a really cool story how that came about. We don't have time for it right now, but some other time I'll be more than happy to share it. as far as how this came to be. But just suffice it to say is that this success is what we're going to use to, go to a major player in international adoption. I mean, a major player, and tell them this is what post-adoption services should look like, and we want you to take it over and continue it with the stress on therapy, on post-adoption, on trauma. So right now, so this Thursday will be the third pajama conference. And we call them pajama conferences because, look, it's a pandemic. We don't care if you're wearing pants, but we're going to talk about some serious stuff. But we're still going to be talking about serious things like a conference. And, the first one we did, we talked about COVID-19, it was topical, and East Asian scapegoating and how it impacted the cat community. The second one we did was just really come to terms with who are we? So connection with our Korean culture and heritage, whether we're Korean American, or a cat. This one coming up is going to be about Korean American adoptee male marginalization. There's things, it's just the cold hard truth. Guys, this better than anyone. We specifically as males, we're outnumbered. Our voice isn't nearly as strong. It really kind of envelops just overall invisibility of being an Asian male. But as a cat, it's even harder, right? Because, we don't have an accent. Our parents are white. Our siblings are white. We like football. You guys like Minnesota, football probably.
Vikings.
You should, like Penn State football. But, so we have all these things. We check off all the boxes of what it means to be normal, and yet we're still just invisible and just not wanted.
So these Zoom conferences and organizations, are they part of Gide, or are they actually something totally separate? Are you going to combine them, or?
That's going to be a discussion that Susan and I are going to have, so I'm not really comfortable discussing the direction of it because it wasn't my idea.
Okay.
It's something that, we do together. We have a blast doing it. Susan is a great partner. And so because Susan isn't here, guys, I just don't feel comfortable saying what direction that's going to go. What I do know is that, I'm one of the co-founders of Gide. I'm also one of the co-founders of the Pajama Conference. So there is, again, I think, a very strong complementary element to it. But as far as the overall future of whether a Gide will incorporate it, I've been pushing for Jodi to create the Gide Foundation series that she and some of our amazing volunteers could do that's kind of similar. So, I do another thing with Moses called the Fireside Chats with Derek and Moses. And that's also independent, but again, very complementary because we're both so heavily involved in Gide Foundation as well. So.
So circle back, the collaboration that Derek is doing with Susan, I'd like to say, Susan has been a very big supporter of Gide Foundation, and we're really happy for that.
It'd be an interesting idea. I'm a composer. I like to make music, but I can't sell. But what if people buy my music and I give part of it to a proceed for Gide Foundation? What do you think about that?
We love it. It would be great. In addition, so one of the on the upcoming schedule of the Pajama Conference, there was a lot of interest in having kind of like a CAD talent show, so we might just, hand over the 90 minutes of the Pajama Conference to, the artist community of CADs and have them. So if you wanted to perform in that, go for it.
Sounds great.
And we'll keep you guys updated when that conference will be. But I think that'd be kind of unique, groundbreaking, right? To have a concert online, free, via Zoom,
Book
that
party.
hundreds of people will watch. So.
Right? Book party. Moses would like to introduce himself. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah. So were there any left turn pages that you guys want to discuss about anything that we maybe missed, or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll just introduce Moses to you all.
Hi, this is Moses, and he wanted to pitch in. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys? It's nice to meet you too.
So I guess apparently you're kind of like the psychologist or therapist for the Korean Adoptee Gide Foundation. Could you describe a little bit more about your role?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for asking. I am a marriage and family therapist, and my role for the Gide Foundation is to be the mental health team lead, which is a very perfect role for me because I really enjoy what I do, and I've been in the field a very long time. Uh, so as a team lead, it's really about working on projects and putting really big ideas together, uh, starting with something that we're working on for next year. So it's a very nice opportunity, and I really appreciate that Derek and Jodi have brought me on in this way.
So are you aware that there's quite a bit of Korean adoptee statistics with mental health issues, and have you is that why you became a therapist, or could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I've been a therapist. I've really been in the mental health field about 20 years. And I came into adoption by way of working for a very well-known adoption agency. It's one of the oldest in the country. And it really, at the time, was a childhood dream of mine to support and help my fellow adoptees and fellow orphans. And I was like, this is it. This is the most wonderful thing. And that was about 10 years ago. So I've really been uh, in the adoption field itself for about a decade. And my perspective has changed quite a bit since then. And I've become much more aware of and very much more of an advocate for post-adoption services, which is very lacking. And there isn't a whole lot of research, and there isn't a whole lot of support. And something that Derek and Jodi and the Gide Foundation are doing is something that has not been done before and very, very much needed. So I can say that having been in this side of the adoption field on the mental health side as an active therapist, working with a range of adoption services and families, yes, we need to be doing a whole lot more. And I'm just so happy that Jodi and Derek, I can't praise them enough, really. They're starting something up that's very much needed.
I guess my curiosity leads to this is that since you're a licensed marriage therapist, is that what it is, or
It's a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Okay.
It's an LPT.
So my question is that I'm currently on medical assistance and Medicare. Do you guys would you take that as a insurance, or how do you guys provide a service when people don't have insurance? Or that's just my curiosity on how it's going to be structured, or is it voluntary, or you plan on doing something similar to that?
That's a really good question. And that's something that we're exploring a range of different ideas. But I could tell you in general, as a general therapist, general practitioner, yes, insurances are taken, which is a nice thing. And right now, and I think this is kind of getting off your point about what we're going to be doing as the foundation. But just to give you a little background on right now, we're typically restricted to practice in the state that we're licensed in. But during this time, those restrictions have been lifted, so we're able to provide therapeutic services across states. Like this is the first time in history, really. So but as far as the Gide Foundation, we are exploring a range of different things, and you bring up a good point about offering direct service.
Yes.
And so providing direct service is certainly a very needed thing. One thing I could probably tell you right now is we are looking for and we are seeking out other Korean adopted therapists and starting to bring together a community of CAD therapists and seeing where they are and saying, hey, let's come together, let's form a community so we can really support ourselves.
Yeah, and if I could jump in real quick, I think, guys, you ask a really good question, but in answering that question, it's going to illuminate why we at the Gide Foundation are taking the path that we're taking. And it's kind of, sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because if we know what the problem is, why don't we just dive right into it right now, right? Why don't we just start tackling, addressing cat suicide? It's for the same reason why you see emergency personnel. Why do firefighters not run to the fire? Why do they take their time? Because in rush, mistakes happen. And in this area, what we know is that, very similar to the first rule of the Hippocratic Oath, which is first do no harm, first do no harm. And Moses' experience and the 20 years that he has as a therapist and with just an intimate knowledge, both on both sides of the chair, right? So, experiencing adoption as a CAD and then also treating it in therapy. We just can't think of a better person to lead that team, but that team and what he's creating with that cohort of CAT therapists is that they're going to really assess and analyze this situation with the gravity, but everyone aware that, yes, we have a problem. But it would be far worse for us to, with all the best intentions in the world, end up doing more damage than good. And, Jodi has her skills. She's not a therapist, and I have my skills, and I most certainly am not a therapist, which is probably a good thing for the world that I'm not. But Moses is, and we do have some very smart, talented, and capable therapists within the CAD community, and it's going to be their expertise. We trust experts. They went to school for a reason, and they have all that experience for a reason. And so when they come back towards the end of the year and announce what that recommendation will be, we'll know that they took that mission very seriously. And something that, we talk with Moses all the time, and we just stress to him, it's not a rush. What's absolute paramount, that is the highest quality and most thought out solution. So when you guys asked about direct payer, if we just dove right into it and then we go, oh crap, we didn't think about that. It just makes us look less competent, less capable, and a solution that's rushed. And it's too important. Lives are on the line, and so they're going to have enough time to really flesh out every possible scenario, every angle. And what we're confident, what we know, is that when they come back to us with their recommendation, it truly will be the best option for our community.
So I guess, is there any other last tidbits that you guys want to say, or should we call it a night?
I would like to add that with Moses and Derek's recommendation, we added suicide resources to our website. And I think that's really important to know if we're to just see what this mission is and that we are serious. And if anybody in your audience is really struggling, they could stop by our website, and we've got a list of phone numbers, and including an online chat as well as a text that they could use to get support.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it.
Where's the survey, Jodi?
You can find the survey at www.guidefoundation.org, or we can send a link in your YouTube text.
Well, we don't really need to because we think that we're going to make a lot of money on used thong sales on eBay.
I don't know. Cut.
We're going to drive to Minneapolis and engage in some male lingerie. I figure we will not only be rich enough to fund all our missions, but Jodi and I can possibly, retire to matching vacation homes. So that's really our strategy going forward. Well, I mean, we have enough volunteers that are going to donate those thongs, so we don't need any more volunteers in the thong department. We are at capacity, and if you ask Jodi, we're actually over capacity on that. She's actually cut the thong team by at least 2, right? And we only have 2 members on the thong team. Yeah, about $975. I think that'll really kind of get us over the hump. So just that extra 15.
Can you write by the Thong Brothers instead?
Maybe for your copy, that will get to your dad. But for general publication, again, boys, we want people to buy the book.
There you go. That's the market everyone has to remember.
And, illustration and artistry by the Thong Brothers is going to be a tough sell.
Do you care if I wear no pants?
Yeah. I don't want to know, I don't want to see it, but you could be smiling there going, I'm not wearing pants. I don't care. Well,
So I heard that you're partnering ship with Fireside Thong Chats too.
Well, apparently as soon as we're done, we're doing Fireside Thong Chats.
That will not be under Gide Foundation. Yeah. I think I could see that as a great thing to have, if you're open to it, have you be a source of entertainment for our book launch party.
That's fine.
Are you comfortable?
Fully clothed, guys. Fully clothed. So get that thought out of your head right now.
Can I just wear my birthday suit?
Only if it's your birthday.
So,
Is there anything else?
This has been a pretty long video, so maybe we should probably cut it off pretty soon. We always can have more chats, I'm sure, in the future.
Thank you guys. Good job.
For your work and effort. All right. So now we're gonna do the more fun one, right?
I need to leave.
Jodi can scram. Yeah, she can leave on that. Moses, you might not be comfortable with this one either. Right? This might get a little bloody. I don't know.
No. Well, thanks you guys. I appreciate you letting me jump in.